Welcome in to episode 3. I'm your host today, Carl J., known as Sundown, and we're just going to go at it today, guys. There's a lot to cover. So let's start with our first go here. Welcome in, Mr. Alex Jones. Sorry, guys. Hold on. It's just me, so forgive me for delays and stuff. It's just me. I got to do everything on my own here. So here we go.
Controlled replacement migration directed by the UN has gone into high gear. There's over 30 million Muslims and other invaders out of the Middle East and North Africa already in Europe, destroying it. And now over 3 million military-aged men in the last 5 years have come into Spain alone. And the new communist government announced this year that they're going to let unlimited numbers come in. Anybody that gets there gets free welfare, even more than citizens, everything paid for, with up to 50% unemployment for those under 30 in Spain. They are collapsing the country by design. And posted in this same post, you see footage of what was just landing yesterday, and more videos are coming in today. And they are landing and they are doing throat-slitting signs. They're screaming and yelling. They have no possessions other than debit cards the UN gives them, the NGOs, the Soros operations, Catholic charities, Jewish charities, the same one that Mayorkas used to run, same NGOs that flooded us are flooding.
Exactly. The exact same people that were running the show last time. These guys got kicked out of the government, but behind the scenes somewhere else, they're doing the exact same stuff. And nobody's been arrested. Nobody's been prosecuted. Fauci was put up in front of a committee yesterday, but they're not going to do anything. What are they going to do? Well, you're going to hold him in contempt. That's not going to go through. You think the Democrats are going to allow that to go through? It's not going to go through. I almost guarantee it. Yeah. Same old song and dance from the same old people.
Flooding Europe, and the Spanish government has said the doors are open. And once again, to Spain, they flood the rest of Europe. Remember, the Muslims conquered Spain for over 500 years, and that started the Crusades to kick them out. So this is globalist, UN, communist, BlackRock-funded systems allied with the Islamic globalist third world invasion. Unbelievable, and it's just going to get worse and worse until Europe totally collapses. Germany shut down their last nuclear reactors, shut down all their coal power plants. Mercedes can't even get energy to build cars.
Yeah.
The U.S. blew up the Nord Stream pipeline that supplied half of Europe's gas, or 45% of it. I mean, this is economic warfare against us all. And we're somewhat insulated here in the U.S. Trump did kill the carbon taxes and the UN treaty, the Paris Accord, but it's still being implemented around the world. That's why it's so horrible to see Trump going sideways on other big issues in war, when he's so right on killing the carbon taxes that'll kill billions of people.
So weird. It's like Trump is conflicted. He does halfway good things, and then he does these, I don't even know, like, it's like left and right. He goes left, then he goes right. He goes left, then he goes right. And it's like, you can't keep up with the guy. He's all over the place, crashing out, man. It's insane.
So see the footage for yourself. It's pouring in. We're posting it all at alexjoneslive.com and right here on X at Real Alex Jones. Please follow us here. We got to raise the alarm about this invasion. We got to take the West back, and that starts with the EU unelected dictatorship. The commission is unelected. Started as a, quote, trade deal back with the Treaty of Rome in 56. Research and understand that's the model of the tyranny they want to put us under. The OECD Marshall Plan Corporation is the global receivership corporation set up after World War II. That is planning to bankrupt the world economy right now with the new Iran war and fold us all into central bank digital currencies under the OECD, the Organization of Economic Cooperative Development. These are the facts. Check it out for yourself.
guys. All right, so well, there's no sound there, but holy God in heaven. You see that coming, you know you're in for it. You're in for big trouble. How in the world, man, do they just allow this? You know what I mean? It's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Wow.
חיילי הצבא המוסרי ביותר בעולם. ולכן הנחיתי היום.
How could you allow this to happen? Honestly. No way. They're literally importing the whole entire third world into their countries. What do you think happens? Let's look at England. England is being absolutely just devastated right now. There's no words for it even. There's absolutely no words for it. They are just being destroyed like you wouldn't believe. What was it? 250,000 assaults. All part of the plan, though. Part of the Great Reset. They don't talk about that no more. They don't say that word. It's the Agenda 2030. I think that their plan is obviously to start multiple civil wars, possibly World War III, because you've got Russia, Ukraine, you've got Iran, America, you've got Israel bombing all their neighbors around them, Palestine, you name it, the list just goes on. Digital IDs in Europe, mandatory. That's going to come here. Everything that goes, so you got to watch, there's a pattern to everything. So what happens in Europe goes to Canada, then it goes to Australia, or sometimes vice versa. Then it comes to the United States. We either shut it down or adopt it. If you look at all the things that have happened, that has been the way, the pattern that it's happened in. It's either gone from, it always starts in Europe. Excuse me, because that's where they all are, right? That's where most of the elites gather, or home base there in Switzerland. And then they send it over to Canada. Canada implements it because it's still under the crown. And I think Australia is too, or are they separate? I'm not 100% on Australia. I have to look that up. But nonetheless, they definitely go along with the plan. Their parliament's in on it either way. So you have a meltdown of Europe right now. Canada has literally looks like Europe with all the foreigners and everybody else coming in. And then I think Australia is suffering the same thing. And then they're trying to flood us out. And what they do is they flood these white countries out because we're the only ones in history who have stood up and fought back. So they know the rebel spirit that lies within. So kill that out, destroy it, neutralize it, and then implement plan. It's pretty genius, to be honest with you. Ooh, what do we got here? Ooh, this will be a good one. Andrew Wilson joins Rex Jones. Ooh. Oh, it's already going on. I wonder if I'm allowed to check that. Let's just dip in. We'll dip in and
represent what we voted for, so I don't feel very in control.
Most Republicans do represent what you voted for. There's a few defectors you probably don't like, but overarchingly, Republicans have been fairly decent when it comes to things like migration.
This can be a good one here.
When it comes to trans issues and social issues,
But we're
domestic
talking about the
policy, they've
war.
been fairly decent.
But the war.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm looking at the totality of why it is that you don't want to give up power over a conflict you don't support.
All right, but they didn't do what we voted for or what I voted for because they didn't pass the war powers resolution. So they're failing on that front. That's a big problem.
Yeah, I'm certain that there's multiple policies that you would consider to be failures from the right or Republican Party, but that really doesn't have any bearing over whether or not, if you look at the totality of how it's going to be governed between the left or the right, it's going to be far superior under the right than the left. And so what I look at politically is I'm looking at political longevity. Who's the nation going to be better in the hands of ultimately? And it's going to be the right wing, and it's going to be Republicans. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I've lived under Democrat rule. It's a nightmare. It's always a nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare again. So while I agree with you in spirit that there's many things here that we have disagreements with, we need to rein our party back in and tell them no war, things like this. That has no bearing ultimately on who I want to see governing.
We will talk about that when we come back. Andrew Wilson, The Crucible, Rex Jones, Alex Jones Network. See you soon.
Oh, sorry, my mic was muted. I think Rex has left the Republican Party almost completely. If not, I think he said so or close to it. I don't know that he's left the Republican Party as much as the Republican Party has left us. They have totally discombobulated half of their voters. More than half probably didn't want this war in Iran. They're not voting on anything that we want passed. We can't even get... Go back to it.
Of the war, I want to read a quote from before that, actually. Let me find that really quick. From the time with Owen. And I believe that, when was the debate with Owen? When did that occur in timeline with the conflict?
I don't exactly remember. It was very early on.
All right, the crew will fact check that really quick. I'm going to read this quote. And this is in response to something we'll get into later in the next segment, which relates to our Epstein disagreement, right? So I want to say this in context. I'm not saying this is exclusively an Iranian war argument, but it does reference kind of your feelings towards the Iranian people. I'm going to read this. Not only that, I'll tell you something really interesting. I do know of a satanic type religion of pedophiles, and right this second, Trump is blowing them up. Right this second, as we speak, he blew up their leadership. The Ayatollah Khamenei instituted child marriage as young as 9 years old inside of Iran, and we're killing them overwhelmingly. You want to talk about pedophiles? Let's talk about pedophiles. Where are they at? I can tell you who are blowing up right now. Who are pedophiles? That would be Trump blowing up pedophiles. That's what he's doing currently. Is that the way you feel about all the civilian deaths in this war as well? What's your take?
No, what I was doing there was testing the logical consistency of the pedophile craze for Epstein. So the idea was from Owen's position was that the most important thing was to stop the pedophiles who were in government.
Yeah.
So I said, look, If that's the case, if it's really just about pedophiles, then we can point out that there's another nation that's completely filled to the brim with them, and we're blowing them up at the moment. It's just to test the logical consistency. It's not a position that is pro-war. It's just a position that's designed to test
just to be clear, if it's purely like to test logic, you do not support bombing pedophiles in Iran?
No. Well, I don't support it. Let's just say, like, if we put it in a vacuum, if all the pedophiles in Iran died of a heart attack, I would support that. But if it's the case that I have to send United States soldiers over to blow them up, I'm not so sure that that's a great idea. No.
Okay, so that's what you meant when you said, I'm not an anti-war guy, but I'm not a pro-Iranian war guy.
Correct. I'm not anti-war.
Okay,
it just depends on what the war or the conflict is. So I'm an America firster. It's the case that I'm anti-Iranian war, sure, but I'm an America firster. So the idea is that there could be wars that America needs to engage in for its own interest. You would agree with me on that. It's just that this probably isn't one of them.
Yeah, but your opinion has changed, because initially you didn't call it a war. Now you're calling it a war. So
well, at the time,
but ain't that semantics? Really, that's just semantics.
And it was a very short conflict that led to what looked like possibly a ceasefire, but that fell apart, and it does look like it's becoming a hot war. Yeah.
Right, a regional conflict, a regional war, and like this is the reality. Like, there's no brakes on this train. This is why it grinds my gears when people still support the president over this and say there's some reason to this. There's not. This is a COVID of choice, in my view. Would you disagree with that?
Yeah. So I'm not supporting. Do you agree with me that we don't have to support every position of Donald Trump to still understand that he's the lesser of two evils here?
I think there's a hierarchy. I think when you do like the grand ultimate sin, I think it really counts against you. I think that's what he's done with the war, the peace president.
I don't think that that's the grand ultimate sin. The grand ultimate sin is yielding right-wing power to progressive, insane lunatics. Okay, these people are lunatics. I've seen what they do when they're...
Yeah. If you guys want to watch this, sorry, I have to interrupt. So if you guys want to watch this, you have to go over to alexjoneslive.com, or you can go to X. That's where I'm watching the feed from. So you can go to any one of these places right here at the bottom of the ticker. Alex Jones on X, that real Alex Jones, the Alex Jones Show on Rumble. So anyways, and I have to pause it. I know you guys probably want to hear them over me. Yeah, the ultimate evil would be to hand over the keys to the Democrat Party. But in a sense, to play a devil's advocate on that, I feel in a way he is, because we're probably going to lose the midterms over this. So in a way, he kind of is. You know what I mean? Like, if you're handing the keys over one way or the other, you're still handing them over. It might not be directly right now, but if they gain the House or the Senate back because of this, hyperbole, he did hand them the keys. Air quotes. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Progressives. And the answer for me is unequivocally no. Would I love it?
I don't know if I can get in trouble for doing this live. Like, if they clip this, I might be able to. So this video might get banned. I don't know, guys. So enjoy.
Bad prop to me.
I just think we've lost more than we've gained. Conservatively, let's just go with the initial 39-day of the war count. It's 113 billion. Look at our bases. Look at things destroyed. Look at munitions. Let's just call it another few billion, whatever we want to say. Look at the global energy crisis ramification for people at home. People are spending more money. Ultimately, you're looking at like around a $200 billion price tag for, 150 days or 6 months of war.
It's going to be more than that before it's done.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. So how on, quote unquote, our side, quote unquote, the right, how is that not the ultimate sin? I'm going to put that back to you.
Because domestic policy is even more important than foreign policy is.
Yeah, but what domestically has he done lately? You know what I mean? The first 6 months he was doing good. That then gas and everything he fought for went right back up. So I'm not sure exactly where the W was there. We won for 6 months, but now we're losing. It's kind of like give take, but in a sense of we should have gotten and held.
Only that, they're going to roll back Roe v. Wade and the legislation that we have fervently fought.
Okay, the Roe v. Wade, No offense to Christians out there. That's for Christians. I personally, and I'm assuming a lot of other people don't care what somebody does with their body. I'm not the one when I got to go before God that has to atone for that. So for me, that's not a big W. Like, and I do consider myself a Christian. I believe in God. You know, I'm a Christian in the sense. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Is your body? You figure it out. You know what I mean? You're the one that's got to go before God for that. So.
Coming out of the east, which is where they've traditionally come from, moving their way out westward. You want these people in power? No, you don't. You don't want them in power.
No.
Even if it
No, you don't want the Democrats in power. I'm assuming that's who he's talking about, and obviously not. No way. We will be screwed.
To the kingdom, though, when we have coffins come home draped in American flags. And the whole narrative about Mamdani, he's in the Oval Office shaking hands with Donald Trump, hanging out. So the whole narrative of, the great communist enemy, the evil enemy, I just see these as different factions that want to destroy the country. Do you not see the Republicans as a different faction that wants to destroy?
No, I've never believed the ideal that this was a two-headed snake with one single body. That's not the case. The case of the matter is,
it is a bird with two wings, so it's the same bird. It's just two wings. You know what I mean? And they are a uniparty behind the scenes, somewhat. Half of them, even if it's just half, they're still a uniparty because they still. I mean, they go to each other's kids' birthday parties. They still hang out after work. You know what I mean? They still go do stuff together.
Down and shaking hands with Trump means nothing. That's politics, man. That's how that works. That doesn't mean he doesn't hate him. That doesn't mean he's not smiling, waiting to put a knife in his back and in the back of the Republic, because they are. These people are psychopathic lunatics, and they're communists, and their entire ideology is the destruction of capitalist America. That's what they want more than anything.
Yeah, when America supports and props up genocides that Israel and Ukraine commit, and then people like Mamdani can run on being opposed to that, we hand them a free win.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. In a way, he is hyperbole, handing them the keys to the country, because look at what is happening, you know, with the war, how unpopular it is. And not just that, he let the economy kind of crash.
Nothing here that you're saying, though, that also, or that I'm saying that's untrue either. Both things are true. It is true that his support is being eroded because of this conflict. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But it's equally true that if we have progressives in power, domestic policies are going to turn to absolute shinola, and they are going to destroy us. Both things are true at the same time. So what's the pathway forward is what we're discussing, right?
Well, how do you hold
and the idea is like, what do we do?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good. Who and how and what controls the Republican Party then?
Money.
Mostly donor money, donor class, NGOs, things like this. They're also beholden to constituency, so it's a coalition of different factors.
Who would those
that hold
people be?
control.
Who would the donors be? Who would the donor class be? Would that be people that support Greater Israel Project and are generating dead American bodies?
And Kufi, and all sorts of different people. But
so it doesn't
also
sound like the voter, right?
Yeah, but the problem is like that's a very one-dimensional aspect to look at. It's like, yes,
you can say Jews that. Why is that true?
Well, hang on. I'm going to tell you. Jews pump a lot of money into politics. There's no doubt about it. So does Israel. But on the other hand, so do most of the Arab nations. So do most foreign nations pump money into politics.
Are we fighting a war for them?
Left.
Are we fighting a war for the Arab nations right now or for Israel?
No, that's beside the point, though.
No, who controls the party, Andrew? Who controls the party?
So it's not purely Jews who control the party.
I didn't say
it's
that.
It's a collection.
Okay, just, okay, yeah, it's not them necessarily completely, but it's a large part. And I get what Rex is saying. Who are we doing right here? I mean, look, bam, right there. That'll tell you everything. And they do control the party mainly. They control both parties mainly. They now show the Democrat side of that too, and you'll see that
both sides may not want to do that. So yes, both parties are seized by NGOs. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And also they have some sort of beholdenness to their own constituency. So it's a coalition of factors and not a single factor.
So if it's being run by donor money and not by the will of the people, the will of the voters, then how are we bad for wanting to hold them to account by doing the only thing we can do by not voting for them?
Yeah, that's not how's that going to help though? Like, what is that going to do for you exactly?
Can I answer?
What does that do for you? Yeah, what does it do for
Gridlock,
you?
stagnation in Washington, D.C., perhaps a passing of the War Powers Resolution into the Iran conflict, impeachment charges for Trump for war crimes, blowing up the school.
Okay, so let's just assume that you get all of that. That's going to take a progressive majority. You agree with me there, right?
I don't think
There's
so.
no way you're going to get
gridlock.
an impeachment.
I said gridlock.
You're not going to get an impeachment of Donald Trump without a progressive majority, dude. No way.
They can do an impeachment in the House and have it fail in the Senate. That happened before.
Well,
Did
then
it
that's not an. Then that's
not an actual impeachment, though. That's just, yeah, that's kind of just, yeah.
What do I get?
Probably not the
What is
Iran
me,
war.
the average?
Probably not the
Okay,
Iran
great.
war.
I know. I'm not asking what I don't get. I'm asking what I do get. What do I get?
Well, I told you I consider that to be the supreme thing. You're going to make arguments. Are they going to pack the Supreme Court? No, they're not
I
going
don't
to pack
get
the
anything.
Supreme Court.
So okay, the conflict in Iran goes away.
But they are going to pack the Supreme Court. That's the problem. So it is a dilemma. We are in a dilemma, man. First off, we're in a constitutional crisis. No doubt about it. Secondly, Democrats take office completely. They get the Senate. If they get the presidency, Senate, and the House, yeah, they're going to pack the Supreme Court. They already said they were going to. And they wanted to get rid of the filibuster. So,
Rex, what do I get if they're in office, dude? Answer me. What do I get if progressives are in office, bro? What do I get?
Massa on our plantation's better than Massa on theirs. That's your entire argument. With the Republicans,
You're not answering the question.
With the Republicans, you get war. With the Democrats, you get potentially more immigration.
Can you answer the question that I asked you, dude?
Potentially more immigration. Potentially
more immigration. I'm going to get increased taxes.
Wait.
I'm going to get a rollback of all of the social programs.
We're being taxed right now. The war's a tax. The war's a tax on everyone, Andrew. The war's a tax on everybody. You completely discount every factor of the war that's hurting Americans right now, and you say, but the Democrat. You say, but the Democrat. That's your entire argument.
You're saying the Democrats will save us, Andrew.
That's not what I said. I want the war to end. World War III is happening right now. You support World War III. You say you don't, but you make justifications for it.
I support World War III.
Yes.
You support communists getting into office to save you from the evil Republicans because you can't rein in your own party.
Andrew, what happens when World War III truly breaks out and there's a ground invasion? You were wrong 7 weeks into the war. You're wrong right now. What happens when that happens? Are you going to eat crow?
Wrong? What do you mean? How am I wrong? I never said there would be a ground.
Yo, boy, they're getting at it. I gotta pause it for a minute and let them do that. I'm sorry, guys. If you want to watch it, you can go over to Real Alex. Here, I'll show it real quick so you can see where to go. Right here, Real Alex Jones on X. I'm sure you guys, if you're watching me, you probably follow them. So, wow, it's getting heated. Where do I even start with any of that? Okay, let's see.
We can go to our representatives. We can ask them to defund this. We can ask for many things from the representatives who are in control. Now that you have established what my view is, our Democrats going to save us from anything, bro? Tell me, please.
All right, mass starvation every single day. The Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb are shut. There's global famine, mass migration, human osmotic pressure. Michael Yon talks about it all the time. This war will generate 100 times the problems that you're kvetching about. That's
yeah, but also in good faith here. Also, the Democrats want to already do all that. So, in a way, well, God, it almost sounds like one bird, two different wings, but they all meet in the middle, don't they?
Yeah, except can you promise me when Democrats are in office, I get no war?
Well, you promised me it was a 7-week conflict and not a war, and then you changed your mind.
Answer the question I asked
you get to have it both ways. You get to have your cake and eat it too, but then I have to respond to your hypothetical. If the Democrat win, they destroy the country because you say so. I don't agree with your assertion.
Yeah, they're going to.
I don't think they're going to destroy the country.
So then why not tell people to vote for Democrats? Tell them to vote for Democrats, Rex. Do it live right now on the Alex Jones program. Say,
no, we're not going to be doing that. I'm not voting for my own destruction. Democrat, Republican, they are two wings on the same bird. You disagree with that? That is my position.
The most important thing is World War III, Rex. Tell people to vote for Democrats because they're going to save us. Do it.
Do not vote Rex. For Zionist Republicans that want to end your life and your family lineage forever by sending you off to war.
Why not tell them
Don't
to
put
vote
words
for
in my
Democrats.
mouth, Andrew. Don't put words in my mouth.
Why not? Why don't you tell them to vote for Democrats, Rex? Why not?
Because I disagree with that position.
Why not tell them?
I disagree with that position.
How do you disagree with the position? The most important thing is World War III, and the Democrats are going to save us from it.
Which they're not going to, because they're not going to end the war in Ukraine, and they're not going to end this war in Iran. What they're going to do is just let Israel keep doing what they're doing till they irritate Iran again. At best, the Democrats stop this for a moment, and then once Israel starts bombing again, then Iran hops back in against Israel, then we're right back in the war. It's all the same. It's all the same. That's the problem. This is not a winnable argument on either side, because right now it just looks all the same. It just looks like a continuation of what we already got.
Or people like you that backed the Republicans. When Trump said 99% of Republicans supported the war, you're a part of that number. You emboldened his military action.
Did you vote for Trump?
Yes, twice.
Then you supported the war. How could you support the war?
I was wrong to believe in the lies of Donald Trump. Donald Trump lied to me. Hold on, Andrew. Donald Trump said no more neocon wars in the Middle East. Is this the neocon war in the Middle East?
That's the same thing he said to me. I voted for him too.
And you're still a cuck.
What do you want me to do?
You're still cucking for him. That's what this is.
You're cucking for Democrats, bro.
You're making excuses for the dear leader. If you can't criticize your own side, it shows your coalition is weak. You have no coalition. You have no platform. You admit the Republican Party is controlled by the donor class, but then you say to go vote for it.
So are Democrats.
I'm proposing we break. I'm post-duopoly.
Oh, okay, great. What you're going to break in what? You're going to form a party in 2 years?
I'm
That's
23.
Insane,
you're in your 50s or something. You'll be dead in like 30 years. I'll be here. I care about the nation and the future of this country in a way that you do not.
That's not going to save us from World War III that you have a party in 20 years, Rex.
No, we do it now.
We do it. Yeah, that's not going to save you now. That's not going to save you. And the problem with what Rex is saying is we're all forgetting about Agenda 2030. None of this matters in that case, because you won't have the time to start a new coalition. And there's been multiple coalitions. They've tried it. Ross Perot. There's already a third party, what do they call themselves? The Libertarian Party. They've gone nowhere. It never goes anywhere. You need billions of dollars. Some guy, I'll find the video and see if I can bring it to the table tomorrow. A guy already went through it. You need billions of dollars. You need each state to allow you a certain, to get into the booth, to do it even. I mean, it's so much. I can't even remember it all. It's so much. To start a third party is insanity. It's not going to happen. The Libertarian Party already exists. They tried it with Ross Perot. Ross Perot was probably the closest it's ever been. You know what I mean? So... yeah, no, not going to happen.
How many pumps? How many dead soldiers? How many? Uncle Sam's railing you right now. Is it going to be 19, 20, 21 pumps, 22? How many more deaths, Andrew, will you justify?
How many times do I have to say I don't support the war?
But you support Donald Trump, who's doing the war. That's the whole point of the argument.
I don't support Donald Trump.
Yes, you do. You support Donald Trump. You're telling people to vote for his party.
Rex, you can't cut me off in the middle of the sentence.
You've been cutting me off.
Funny here, man. It's I don't support Donald Trump's war in Iran. I do support him on domestic policy and the things that he's gotten done.
It's not a deal breaker for you.
Think for a second, not yet, unless there's a ground invasion. And I got to tell you, man, you're saying that there's going to be World War III and Democrats are going to save us. That's nuts. They're not going to save us from anything. No. And if you really believe that they were, why wouldn't you tell people to go vote for them then? Why?
2026, we're not voting. 2028, we're voting for somebody to take over the party just like Trump did. Respond to my position.
Democrats?
That's my position.
I'm trying.
2026.
That's a stupid position.
Respond to it. Don't just say it's stupid. What happens? 2028, we take over the party.
I'll help you out here. Okay. So here's what
Yeah.
happens in 2026. You get
Yeah.
obfuscation. If you get Democrats in, you get a lame duck. You're right that you got gridlock. But what Democrats will come out and say is they'll be like, look, the Republicans have completely failed you while they obstructed every bit of their agenda. That's what they'll run on. They'll put a communist in the White House like they've done before.
Yeah.
They will completely and totally take over the electorate, and then we're really screwed, bro.
Yep.
And what's really funny about this is, again, now that I've responded to you, can you please respond to me? Why won't you tell people, if you really believe that Democrats are going to save us from World War III and that's the wedge issue, not to vote for them in 2026? That's an insane contradiction.
I don't agree
Rex.
with that. I agree with holding the Republican Party accountable by not emboldening and enabling them in 2026. Andrew,
That's
are they
not
going to?
Okay, but by not emboldening them and trying to hold it, and with no party to take their place, you basically are telling people to go vote Democrat because they're still going to go out and vote. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, you're just handing the keys over to the Democrat Party, and they will take it all over. And by 2030, this all ends. You know, depending on who's in office, really. And I can't really say the Republican Party is much better either in that case. So it's such a slippery slope. It's like you got to vote for the best of two evils. And right now that is the Republican Party because they do hold some semblance to the Constitution and Bill of Rights. So, okay, they're going to break. I got to break it up, guys. I know you want to listen to them. It's getting heated. It's pretty awesome, but I have to intervene. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be doing this while they're live. I think that I'm supposed to wait till they make a video clip of it. But, you know, we're watching anyways. Yeah. So the argument there is, okay, you don't want to embolden them, but you're just emboldening the Democratic Party by saying don't go vote Republican, don't go vote at all, is a vote for the Democrat Party. And they want to dismantle us quicker. If you look at Trump's first run, then you look at Biden took away everything all the progress Trump did make and made the country 10 times worse under him. And then if you look at what Trump's done now, he has erased most of that. But if we put the Democrats back in, of course, and after Trump is gone too, they'll just seal the deal. Trump's gone, what, in 29? Yeah, 29, I believe. 27, 20. Yeah, he's gone in January of 29. So at that point, whoever takes office will be right in line for Agenda 2030. And if it's the Democrat Party, they will push that over the line. That'll be it. You will get digital ID. You will get CBDC. The unfortunate part is I really think these data centers are going to go up. And I'll just go on a limb and say it, what I feel. I feel these data centers are a surveillance state, a surveillance net, and a way to monitor. I mean, look at all the flock cameras. They need these data centers to run all these cameras and to run all this. We're etching ever so close to whatever the end game is. And it almost feels like, I mean, it's like a black pill in a way, because you feel like any party you vote for, that's the way we're going, and there's nothing we can do about it. You know, it's a tough pill to swallow, because we're heading down that route either way. Donald Trump already signed for the data centers. I did hear something about him. He's going to pull back some of the revisions from it, though, and make it where you are able to sue under certain circumstances. And he is going to kind of pull the rug out from under him a little bit. But that'll just be undone. and you still need the House and the Senate to vote on it to make it law. He can write an executive order all he wants, but the minute he's out of office, that executive order's gone. That's the problem with all these executive orders in the first place. The minute he's gone out of office, just like last time, so are those executive orders. If you look at what the Republicans have actually passed and gotten through the Senate to his desk, it has not been many things. You know what I mean? They can't even get the SAVE Act passed, they can't even get the SAVE Act passed. It's ridiculous. If they can't even do that, which is just voter ID, you have to have a driver's license to drive. You have to have not a license, but an ID to buy cigarettes, to buy alcohol, to go gamble. You literally need an ID for literal everything. So, okay, they're back. I'm going to go ahead and play it.
About the Epstein apologetics, but I don't want to leave it hanging there reviewing what we just said. I'll give you the floor.
Well, I mean, it's fine for us to get into a different topic. I understand the debates get heated. I never take it personally. I never have. We have different positions and we have different ideologies, but I'll just leave it at no, I've never been an Iran war supporter. I do think that the right wing are the by far better governing candidates and better governing force than Democrats. I don't think Democrats are going to save us, nor do I even think that they would stop any wars that were going on. I don't believe it for a second.
No.
All right. I just don't believe the right wing is in charge. Like you say, this is the issue that I have. We can point to the Democrats. You can point at the radical Marxist, socialist, communist agenda. You can say that is actually in charge. My issue is the Democrats think that they're right. The Republicans know that they're wrong, and they lie to their electorate. How do we hold them accountable?
Well, both parties ultimately lie often to their electorate. The thing is that the one thing you can't get around is that politics is a team sport. In order to legislate, you have to have X amount of votes. And that's not just to get into office. That's for when you are in office. Democrats understand and know this. They will vote along party lines without defectors. Even the communists will get together with the progressives in order to do this because they understand maintaining power is central, right? You have what is called suicidal principles. It's like, look, you can if you want to. If you want to say, look, I'm so principled that I just refuse to even go and vote at all. That's great. But I don't know what the hell that does for anybody. And I don't know what putting Democrats in office, if you really thought that was going to void World War III, why you wouldn't tell people to go vote for them en masse. Like, why wouldn't you do that?
Because you propose it as an absolute, and I'm not proposing it as that. I'm saying 2026 specifically, I'm not showing up to the polls because the peace president lied and took me to war. 2028, I plan to be very involved.
But you're just punishing yourself. You're setting your feet on fire to warm up your hands. You're like, look, because what you do is you get rid of your legislative authority and you give it to progressive lunatics, and they will obstruct all legislation that you do want. That's all that they will do for 2 straight years. Blame that on Republicans to usher in their candidates, and they will get them in. They will be in charge, and we are going to be in a world of hurt. That is how this works politically. Why do you think they're beating this as a wedge issue so hard? They love it. It's their favorite thing on planet Earth.
Well, they were given it,
They
Andrew.
beat it to death.
They were given it by the
I agree that this is a Trump. I agree that this was a Trump blunder. I get it. And I understand that that's now a talking point which can be used by Democrats and progressives.
Blunder implies accident. This was very deliberate. Another nation took us to war, Andrew.
Well, no, blunder doesn't imply accident. It implies that you did something that you weren't supposed to. It was stupid what he did.
Yeah, which he did. I think Trump did admit he was pissed at Bibi because he did feel betrayed and like he did get sucked into this. But at the same time, you're the president, you're the man, you make the decision. So what are you doing?
For instance, he had no reason to think that it would become this expanded conflict. But that's the only defense that I'll give to the guy, because many people in his administration told him that.
Well, and this time around, the thing with this to everybody about Trump, we're not voting for Trump, and we're not voting for the MAGA coalition. We're voting for Republican. And a lot of people are detaching themselves from that. You know what I mean? So it would be up to us. There's always more than one candidate for the Republican Party. don't pick the establishment guy. Pick the other guy. You know what I mean? You go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You're the guy. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to vote just because this guy's been in office 20 years. Let's put him back in. No. How about put the fresh young mind in there who's willing to fight? You know what I mean? That's the problem, is that there's other people to vote for. There's not always just one guy. It's usually a lineup of guys, and we just end up picking the establishment guy because, well, he's the easy vote. Well, sometimes you got to do what's hard, and you got to make it right and just do it.
So what? We both agree it's a war, both of us. So if that's the case, you
don't agree that killing the Ayatollah is an act of war, which makes it look like, well, why are the Iranians fighting us? They seem to think that they're at war with us.
Bro, what part of we both agree it's a war are we not? What are you not getting here?
No, because you denied.
We don't both agree on that?
Your position at the beginning was wrong, and you knew better. You knew it was a war, and you said it wasn't one because you thought it could end quickly.
Okay, you know what? Just for the sake of getting the conversation forward, Rex, I was wrong. It wasn't a conflict. It was actually war. What have we established? Anything?
Well, I mean, you're willing to write that off.
We've established
you're willing to write anything and everything off that Trump does, even if he takes us to war, because the Republican Party will save us.
I mean, you're just making stuff up.
Then how do we hold them accountable?
I've been very adamant.
How do you hold them accountable for breaking with their promises?
Yeah, so you can do political punishment, especially through acts of Congress. That's the best way to do it. Get them to defund things. They can pass legislation. They can restrain him. You can go to courts. There's a million different ways to restrain the president.
Well, you're against
There's a million different ways to restrain your parties in Congress, including lobbying your own NGOs, including lobbying your own lobbyists. There's a million different ways to restrain them. Your way to restrain them is, let's vote in progressive lunatics who are going to destroy the nation. That's not how you do this, bro. That's the opposite of how you want to do this.
Yeah, that's kind of the opposite way.
All right, so you've got another position which is pretty interesting, which is the Epstein position. And there's there's Michael Tracy, Gavin McInnes, who I had on yesterday, also kind of
I'll give you my Epstein position here real quick. You're never going to get the files. They redacted them. They're never going to be unredacted. It's going to be 50 years. I'm going to go with what I think here is, if those files were to actually be released, I think I heard it before, the economy would collapse, and they're not going to let that happen. And there's too big and too powerful of people on those files. It's just never going to happen. I think it's a fevered dream. And yes, Donald Trump said it, but he said it out of ignorance. Those files were never going to happen. I don't think it's because he's in them or anything like that. I just don't look at Trump that way. I don't think he's a pedophile by any means or anything weird like that. I think he used those files as leverage above their head and got them to do what he wanted them to do with it. And he made a deal with the devil there, and he has to uphold his end, and that is never release them. So that's that. You're never going to get them. I've said it from the start, and I haven't been saying it live from the start, but the minute I heard about them, I said, you're never going to see them. It'll be like the JFK files. You'll never get the full redacted anything. You're never going to see any of the video footage. Whatever you got already is all you're going to get. That's it. They already know the names, because you can go behind the skiff in Congress there and see the unredacted stuff. So the congressmen and women already know the names on the files. They're not going to do nothing because they saw the names and they went, nope, not going to do nothing there. Redact it. That's all you're getting.
Crew, can we get really quick? Crew, can we get the DOJ charges for Southern District in New York, Ghislaine Maxwell, punched up on the screen really quick?
You're not going to get them. I don't know why Andrew should just
and then the other thing.
Andrew should just plainly say that you're not going to get the files. He should just plainly say you're just not going to get the files and leave it at that, because you're not going to. And sure, who are you going to? The whole Congress knows, they've all went into the skiff. They all have seen the files and the names behind the lines. They know the whole economy would probably collapse. It was the who's who of our entire world probably going to Epstein Island. They released a little bit to give us a little something to talk about. It's theater. You know what I mean? It's just, they're putting on a show. It's a well written play, and they're just going step by step with it. They knew what they were doing. They were never going to release it. It was never going to happen. I personally don't think Jeffrey Epstein is dead. I think they faked his death and the guy's out of here. That's my personal belief. And I think that you're just never going to get the files. It's just not going to happen. It's like the JFK incident. You're never going to know the real truth. They're going to leave it a mystery. Everything's a mystery for you. You know what I mean? That's how they're going to leave it. We got to be realistic about things. It's cool to talk about, but if we're going to get down to brass tacks with it, we have to be real. And the real is you're never going to get them. You are never going to. There's a guy named Due Diligence on X here who consistently talks about it. And I used to just type in his chat all the time. You're never going to get it. It's not me being a prick. Obviously, I don't have access to it, and there's nothing I can do. But I'm just being realistic. You're never getting those files. They're never going to release them. You're never going to get the real names. And anybody who's who, real power, had their names redacted from that when James Comey in 2019 got his hands on all the files. James Comey, in my opinion, I don't want to slander the guy, was an inside job. He was an inside job. He got paid behind the scenes, more than likely, probably, in my opinion, to get those files and to erase the big dogs' names. The only people's names that are even left on those files are small dogs who don't matter, really. You know what I mean? Not to the big wigs. So they don't care. The big dogs at the tippy top, James Comey got those files and erased their names, erased any footage of them. And who was left? A couple bankers, a couple, maybe a couple Fortune 500 company guys, if that, probably lower than that, I'm guessing. Just, not happening.
The research that I've read, and I've looked at both ends of it. So Pam Bondi said that most of the redactions on video, for instance, came from the fact that this was mostly Epstein's porn, and that had been investigated. And it's true that they did age play pornography, but even a lot of the pictures which were leaked out where it appeared like it was a young girl, like perverts on the internet were like, no, I saw that porn. It's this one. And you'll see that on X. They're like, nope, that's actually just age play pornography, this type of thing. So he had a pretty staunch porn file. And then as far as the other files that haven't come out, my understanding is that those fall under the same category. They're like unnecessary files to send out, or they're protected by victim advocacy groups, this kind of thing.
Do you believe
this is my understanding of it?
No, I get it. Do you believe he was an international sex trafficker?
Yes, I do.
I don't think that there's evidence to support that Epstein was involved in international sex blackmail operations. There seems to be a lot of evidence that he was at least tied to intelligence agencies, which doesn't surprise me because he was a bank.
He was. That's international. If he's tied to that and he's getting girls, that's not true. There is evidence to support that because he was taking girls from other countries for sex travel. So he's taking girls from other countries. That's international travel to pick girls up for sex. That's soliciting sex in other countries. So no, that's wrong. And there is evidence to prove of it because a lot of the girls are not from America. They're from Slavic countries and places that you wouldn't necessarily miss the girls. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, no. That's not true.
In fact, the case, it's awful suspicious. I agree with you. The idea of coded language always is. But do you remember the Pizzagate and the stuff that happened around that? That was all based around coded language, and it was all nonsense. There was no
I don't know that was all
trafficking
nonsense.
going on.
I don't know that was all nonsense. The Podesta emails are not a part of Comet Pizza, and that was also a part of Pizzagate. So you're going to conflate two things here.
Well, no, I'm not. The Podesta emails and Spirit Cooking had to do with some lunatic's art project, and that was conflated and tied in to the fact that Podesta was diddling kids, and then that was tied into Pizzagate. It's like,
but if it's
most
just
of that
a
wasn't
lunatics,
true.
If it's just a lunatic's art project, then why are all the most powerful people involved in it, and why are they involved with pedophiles like
For the
Jeffrey
same
Epstein,
reason
like
that
Podesta?
most elites get involved in art, because it's a massive racket worth billions of dollars.
Okay, Andrew is siding on the side of he doesn't have 100% proof and evidence, but they got Anthony Weiner's laptop. They got a lot of other stuff. Podesta has been known. I mean, like we're skating on the edge here. I get that he doesn't have the evidence to back it up, so he's speaking, purely off that, and I get that.
Was a total absolute scumbag of the tallest order. The problem that you have is, like, you have to separate mythology and weirdness and grossness and sickness from reality. The reality is there was never, ever at Rocket Pizza a basement where kids were getting tortured and they were being SA'd. That's just not true. Factually, it's not true. And you can be upset about it all you want, but that is, in fact, the case. Right now, factually, you don't have evidence that Epstein was flying children around the world as part of blackmail operations. You don't have the evidence for it.
We have evidence.
You can have great suspicions.
Mm-hmm. We have evidence that he trafficked children. We have evidence that he did it with Ghislaine Maxwell. She's in jail for 20 years. To himself with Ghislaine.
To himself, right? Exactly.
All right. So if he trafficked children to himself and he's this billionaire with all these insane connections, wouldn't it not be a crazy leap of logic to assume he's doing this with other people if him and Ghislaine are doing it?
No, of course not. It wouldn't be a great leap of logic, but there's just not any good evidence there to support it. That's the problem that you have. That's why you have to be very cautious, because you can build up huge mythologies around what is called, logic gaps or evidence of the gaps, meaning, look, I don't actually know, but my speculation becomes the logic. And then I can make these logical leaps based on my speculation. Now we get into these are truth claims. And it's like, you can't make those truth claims because...
Yeah, you can't. I get that. I do get that, honestly.
You can't really make the claim, right? You can just say I have suspicions of. If that was it, if people were like, look, I have suspicions of this. This is really weird. This needs to be followed up on. We want more answers to this. I think that would be fine. But this has transcended that. And it is, in fact, the case that there is a psychosis which is happening in the United States around this, where people now believe that at the top levels of government, we have people who are eating children, that they're eating their pineal glands, that they're eating their sexual organs, that they're killing them and murdering them, and they're SAing them. And it's like, that's a hell of a thing to say without good, compelling proof, man.
All right, I take that point. I can take that point. I can understand it. The problem is, though, he's on record as a child trafficker. He's a billionaire. He has these connections. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. I don't believe that.
But that works against you, too. That's the same argument I can make back. It's like, yeah, you're right. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. But the problem is that you making the affirmative claim, there's an absence of evidence, and therefore that's the evidence, is the same argument.
Yeah.
That's not evidence.
It is a bit odd that the people that promised to expose everything and end the wars started the wars and exposed nothing. And they say, well, we had to do the war and then we had nothing to expose because it's all fake. I guess we're supposed to.
Well, that's because Trump used whatever was in those files against those men and women, I'm assuming, as leverage. He had to have, because he went in gung-ho on it, and then all of a sudden he gave out redacted stuff we already knew. So there's only a few guesses there. Either A, the evidence just doesn't exist and Jeffrey Epstein was just a sick fuck, which, okay, I can go with that too. Or B, Trump used it as leverage against these people to get whatever he needed done behind the scenes. So it is all speculatory until you get the true evidence. But my problem is, what is the redacted stuff? It's not just people's names. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Okay, redact only the names and let us see the rest. That's the problem with it. So it's not, there is more to it. It's just redacted.
Mm-hmm. And molested and raped by high-level government officials, and it's being covered up. We don't have evidence for that, man. Now, if you want to say Epstein trafficked kids to himself, I agree, 100% that happened. but you lack the evidence to show that he was trafficking children to other people as part of massive intelligence blackmail operations. I myself believe that narrative. I believed it myself until I went and looked into it and read a lot of Tracy's research. And his research is quite good.
All right. Well, Andrew, we disagree on this. I think we'll probably do another stream in the future as facts coincide. Thank you for your time. The Crucible, where do they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at The Crucible. You can find me on Rumble. I do the Extravaganza daily. You can also find me on X at Paleo ChristCon. And Rex, I know that we disagree fervently about many things, but I still like you, man, and I appreciate being on your show.
All right. Yeah. Take it easy, Andrew. Appreciate your time. Have a good evening.
You too. Take care.
All right. We will see you guys tomorrow as well. I'll also be in the chair. I think my dad will be here for the first hour. I do want to tell you guys, if you want to support debates, discussions, streams like these, the main thing to do, besides even supporting the store, is sharing the live link, sharing the feed, sharing the clips. Like my dad said at the beginning of the show, we make it very easy to do that. We have a whole team of dedicated clippers in there, the crew, the engineers that are
Wow. That was pretty good. Honestly, that was a pretty good interview. Thought that went well. You know, I do agree with Andrew on a lot of that is when we start placing our own feelings and thoughts, and even though the evidence may lead to it, but if you don't have direct actual evidence, well, you're just going based off speculation. Hold on one second. You're just going based off speculation then. You're not really providing anything new to it, even though what is all the redacted stuff? I mean, that's the best we can say to that. What is all the redacted stuff then? Why is it so heavily redacted to the point where it's like it reads, you know, a sentence, then it's redacted for a paragraph, then it's like, okay, a couple more sentences. You don't get anything out of that. And so what is all that? And if it's, that can't be all names. Oh, we got to redact the names. Okay, well, just redact the names and leave the rest up. That's because it's being used in another way. It has to be. Trump's using it against those guys to figure out, you know, to get stuff done behind the scenes. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Plus, I think he said once that if he were to release it, somebody said this behind the scenes, that if he were to release it, basically the economy would collapse. So, and most of these guys can go pay for sex, right? From certain, you know, like hookers, things like that. You know, there's special clubs. There's a woman who said, yeah, you go to these certain clubs where, and this is where these millionaires hang out, and they pay for quiet services. So these types of things do happen, obviously. Let's see what Trump's got to say here. Todd Blanche is a star, and everyone knows it. He has the potential to go down as one of the greatest attorney generals of all time. However, I just say John here, of Texas, and Thune Tillis of North Carolina, both whom I refuse to endorse and whose political careers have been ended by my action, are refusing to vote for this great nominee, who will remain in any event as acting AG, I guess that. Remember, both Cornyn and Tillis voted for Merrick Garland and others too numerous to mention. I have no objections to the temporary withdrawal of Todd's name if they do not do the right thing and putting him back after Cornyn and Tillis are out of office. President Donald Trump. Todd Blanche. Get rid of this guy. I don't think Todd Blanche is that great. I personally, what has he done? Like, if you call somebody great, I mean, I need to see evidence and proof of that. Oh my God. Yeah. She's preaching to the choir there. Tulsi Gabbard. Fauci's performance made me sick. Yeah, made us all sick. Trust me, sweetheart. Made us all sick. He's a disgusting human being, as far as I'm concerned. Oh my God! Wow. Yeah, we are in a dilemma. Um,
Collapsing. The country's not doing well. It's sick. The Israelis are spreading around the world. They're going to Argentina and Guatemala and Panama and Thailand and Philippines, the United States, of course. They're going to Greece. They're going all over the world. They're abandoning ship. And now we just saw, I just learned about this when I was just watching you talk about how these Israeli soldiers just abandoned their post, actually, which is pretty interesting in a time of war. But I think what we're going to see is countries such as, the Iranians apparently have been attacking the desalination plants in Kuwait, which actually in the desalination plants in Kuwait, when you attack those, you're also attacking their electrical grid because they're co-sanguinated. But
by the way, Michael, you're skipping around, giving them all the facts, which is incredible. You predicted all this months ago and weeks ago that it would pop off in Iraq next. Now that's happened. And that's why the Saudis are getting involved. Israel's ministers have said we can blow up the Al.
Yeah, so Iran hasn't been just attacking, obviously, our bases. They've been attacking Kuwait personally, the UAE personally. This is become a regional thing. But here's the problem with that: Iran's going to piss off all their neighbors, and they're not going to be having a good time after that. That's for show. They're going to get eaten up over this. Yeah. I think the smart move would have been maybe try to. I mean, they are Muslim, right? So.
Mosque and blame it on an Iranian missile to trigger a Shiite Sunni civil war. They could also hit Mecca or Medina and trigger that. Israel's also said they want a new 9/11. They didn't say they'll stage it, very thinly veiled. They've also said that Iran wants to kill Trump. They could easily kill Trump and then use that to nuke Iran. I'm really concerned they're going to assassinate Trump, a deep state coalition with Israel, to launch a full war, or do a false flag nuke in New York or off Tel Aviv, say on a barge or something. They've already pre-programmed that to go to full nuclear war, cause a civil war in the region. Once it all collapses, then Israel can move in, put in new governments. Their finance minister said last week, this is the ideal situation, having chaos in the U.S. in the middle of it. They don't even hide this. So give us a 35,000-foot view first. It's like a Green Beret. You're walking through all the pieces and where this spiraling is going. And is there any off-ramp? Because Trump more and more, not to his credit, I'm just saying, is signaling he wants an off-ramp from my sources inside the White House. And now that's confirmed in the news. But Iran, again, knows they hold the cards, so they're not going to back down. So when the immovable object comes into the unstoppable force, you get an explosion. Michael Yon, give us your 35,000-foot view.
Right. I don't see any off ramp. I don't see that happening at all. I mean, obviously, everything is possible, but I'm not seeing the actual route to an off ramp. This is not meant to have an off ramp.
Real time, uncensored.
Sure, the off ramp is stop bombing. There's your off ramp. The off ramp is we pack our bags and go home. There's your off ramp. Like, what are we talking about? That's the off ramp. That's the way out. Stop bombing them.
And he is a former Green Beret A-team operator, and he, of course, is leading combat journalist. And
I don't even know what there is left to bomb in Iran. Haven't we literally hit every single target at this point? I mean, what is there left? I mean, apartment buildings? I mean, 12 days straight up bombing. Like, what are we bombing at this point? What do they have left? I mean, I get it's a big country, and there's multiple different factions within it. They set it up that way purposely. I was talking with my brother the other day at the gym about this even. And Sure, there's multiple different factions, but I'm talking as in like what are we bombing as in sites, like missile silos, military bases. I mean, 12 days straight of bombing plus the bombs we dropped prior to that. I mean, good lord.
To hold on and sap the resources of a larger foe. And in the end, you always win. As the Romans said, our enemies are not defeated until they recognize themselves as such. We were never defeated because we will never recognize ourselves as defeated. There's another way of saying it. Resistance is victory. So let's talk big picture. No off ramps here. Where this is going with the great Michael Yon. Michael, thank you for being here with us today.
Hey, Alex. Well, the last time I saw you, I was in your studio, so now I'm over here. So, man, what an epic way to start the day with Israeli forces going AWOL. I didn't expect that. From devil worshippers of all things.
I read that 100 IDF troops laid down their weapons and walked away. 100 of them.
Well, no, it is the United States. United States is being expended in this war. And you saw, by the way, I think you talked about it earlier about the Saudis bombed Iraq.
Yes. Please elaborate with your geopolitical expertise. Go wherever you want. Give us an assessment, please, sir.
Oh, good. I spent a couple of years running around Iraq, so I'm pretty familiar with those areas. And you see the pilgrims to Karbala being bombed allegedly by Saudi Arabia, which of course would widen this with the Shia majority around those areas. A huge amount of people are Shia, right? And so the Wahhabists who would have. This is quite fascinating. I've published numerous times that I would expect at some point, or let's say a high probability, that Mecca and Medina would be, let's say, attacked. And Mecca and Medina, of course, are in Saudi Arabia. There's huge, obviously, pilgrimages to those every year, the Hajj and that sort of thing. But, what you mentioned earlier, Alex, about, basically getting everybody into a big fight, that's part of the plan. I think all these countries in the Middle East, or let's say not the Middle East, but in the Gulf states, not including Iran, but the Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, and Saudi Arabia, actually, UAE. I think that those will likely not exist when this is over. Likely. I think that because I think that that appears to be part of the plan. Of course, with the greater Israel, that would include taking out Jordan. That would include taking out Lebanon, which is being done right now. Gaza, of course. Much of Syria, most of Syria, a big, huge part of Iraq. Saudi Arabia, and UAE, Qatar, and Bahrain. Now, back to Iraq. I would not be surprised. I think I mentioned this to you. To see Mosul Dam at some point be destroyed.
Yeah, I mean they're already doing most of this. Lebanon is flat. Wow, it's terrible. I was looking at pictures the other day. I was absolutely flabbergasted by what I saw. I was like, good lord, because they were showing, the neighborhood, and then they would go behind it and show what it looks like now, and it was just absolutely insane to see. When you see something like that, you can't unsee it. Pretty crazy.
But I think what we're going to see is countries such as the Iranians apparently have been attacking the desalination plants in Kuwait, which in the desalination plants in Kuwait, when you attack those, you're also attacking their electrical grid because they're co-sanguinated. But
by the way, Michael, you're skipping around, giving them all the facts, which is incredible. You predicted all this months ago and weeks ago that it would pop off in Iraq next. Now that's happened. That's why the Saudis are getting involved. Israel's ministers have said we can blow up the Al-Aqsa Mosque and blame it on an Iranian missile to trigger.
Oh, they do that. If they do that, that mosque is old, man. Holy God in heaven, if they do that. That's definitely going to pop off a third world war over there.
They didn't say they'll stage it, very thinly veiled. They've also said that Iran wants to kill Trump. They could easily kill Trump and then use that to nuke Iran. I'm really concerned they're going to assassinate Trump, a deep state coalition with Israel, to launch a full war, or do a false flag nuke in New York or off Tel Aviv. say on a barge or something. They've already pre-programmed that to go to full nuclear war, cause a civil war in the region. Once it all collapses, then Israel can move in, put in new governments. Their finance minister said last week this is the ideal situation, having chaos and the U.S. in the middle of it. They don't even hide this. So give us a 35,000-foot view first. It's like a Green Beret. You're walking through all the pieces and where this spiraling is going. And is there any off-ramp? Because Trump more and more, not to his credit, I'm just saying, is signaling he wants an off-ramp from my sources inside the White House. And now that's confirmed.
Wouldn't the off-ramp be stop bombing and actually come to the table and have a real conversation? Wouldn't that be the like, that's one way. I mean, you could just direct, instead of maybe trying to make it look like we won or lost, just stop bombing, period, and just be like, okay, we're ready to actually come to the table. Are you? And then if not, go from there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like they're trying to do that. You already got regime change in one way, and you got a worse regime than the last guy, because all you did was piss off the new guys by killing the last guys. So, you know what I mean? It's like, they don't want it to stop. And then when we tried to stop before, what did Israel do? They bombed them again. Our biggest problem is Israel in that regard. We don't have any say in what they do. You know what I mean? Even though we should, because we supply them with all the missiles to do it. So maybe don't give Israel, if you want to control them somehow, maybe don't give them the missiles. Just use them as leverage. Use it as a negotiation tactic. We're not going to give you any more munitions unless you do what we need you to do. Because really, truly, Israel doesn't want this to quit. Their guy on their end, I think Ben Kazir or whatever his name is, something like that, he came out and said, why America's fighting that war over there, we can do this over here. You know what I mean? And that was finish Lebanon and finish off Gaza. And then they tried to back out completely, like they had nothing to do with it. They were like, oh, well, we're staying out of it. The war was started for you. You're staying out of it. The minute that was said, Trump should have backed out. Okay, you're staying out of it? Yeah, good luck then. We're moving out of it completely. I'm taking the whole fleet and we're going somewhere else. Good luck. That was the backstab right there. Trump should have walked at that point. The fact that he didn't, either he has no backbone to walk away or he's being controlled.
In the news, but Iran, again, knows they hold the cards, so they're not going to back down. So when the immovable object comes into the unstoppable force, you get an explosion. Michael Yon, give us your 35,000-foot view.
Right. I don't see any off ramp. I don't see that happening at all. I mean, obviously everything is possible, but I'm not seeing the actual route to an off ramp. This is not meant to have an off ramp. Actually, when did Israel mention about attacking Mecca and Medina? I didn't see that, but I've been suspecting that may happen for a while.
No. They've had Israeli ministers say we could blow up a bunch of them on TV. They've said we ought to drop a missile on Alaska, where the Second Temple's under it, the rubble, when Titus sacked it. And they said we can blow that up and trigger a Shiite Sunni civil war. So I'm just saying, extrapolating out to Mecca and Medina and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, so that's okay. This is you saw the alleged attack from Saudi Arabia in the United States on the pilgrims related to Karbala today, right? Now there's the opening. There's your entree right there to go ahead and attack Mecca and Medina and blame it on Iran, right? Which is what I've been expecting.
Explain what that means. Explain what that means. Explain what that means. People that don't know, you get some Shiites killed. Now that sets the false flag up to claim Iran hits the holy sites in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
But I think people know, Muslims got to know better, that they're Muslims too. They're not going to hit the holy sites. They're not going to do that. You know what I mean? Like, sure, you can, the Alaska Mosque. If you hit that, there isn't a Muslim on this planet that's not going to think the Jews did it. There is not a Muslim on this planet that's going to believe oh, Iran accidentally hit it. No, they know where their sites are. They know where their holiest of holy, that black box in the UAE, the Alaska Mosque, and a couple other areas over there. Every Muslim in the world is going to know. You're not going to go, oh, Iran did. That's for the rest of the world to think, because every Muslim's going to go, no, absolutely not. They wouldn't even send a missile near that thing. They know better. Even though there is Shiite and Sunni and there's all these different types of Muslims, I get it. But when it comes to those special holy sites, they all hold them in regard, like highest regard. There's no way I would, I just, like, you're not going to tell me a Christian blew up another Christian church. Like, but they're super holy and, high Christians. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. That would just be to drag the rest of the world along with it. That would not be for Muslims. That'd be for the rest of the world. Like, no, we didn't do it. I swear. Fingers crossed behind your back. My ass, you did.
Exactly. So basically, it's a sort of Catholics versus
Remember,
Protestants.
not everybody's a
but it's the
famous geopolitical Green Beret, 30 years, 40 years, running around the planet with armies. So just you have to explain this to people. We have a smart audience, but you need to really explain it.
Right. So basically, putting it in Christian terms, it's basically like Catholics versus Protestants. So you're hitting basically you would basically hit the Vatican and hit wherever the Protestants are all over the place, but you're basically attacking their holiest spots to get those to fight each other. Like has happened before with Catholics. You go up to Belfast, and they still got a wall between Catholics and Protestants. But it's similar with Muslims with Sunni and Shia, right? Basically, it's a direct equivalent, actually. And so there's been a serious effort to get those guys fighting each other, Sunni versus Shia. But this is part of a larger destruction program, right? And keeping those guys, there's not a single train in the Middle East, by the way, that crosses borders. I mean, and that was part of an old game to keep these people all separated. But what I think is happening, Alex, is the depopulation that you've talked about many times. Global depopulation is unfolding, and in service to that, getting rid of that energy over there, getting rid of the fertilizer capacity and those trade routes is very helpful in causing global famine, right? I think more broadly from...
Yeah, maybe I was wrong. Maybe we can get them to fight over it. I just would think that there's no way that they would think another Muslim group would do something like that. I don't know.
That area of the world, Middle East, but shooting over to Strait of Malacca, I think that's going to get closed. I think the Turkish Strait's going to get closed. The Bosphorus, Dardanelles, I think you're going to see those closed, right? At some point. And Danish Strait, I think you're going to see that closed. I think you're going to end up seeing attacks on Hamburg at some point. This is big, Alex. You know this. You talked about this stuff for years. And here it comes. And so I think what we're seeing here, that attack apparently on pilgrims in Iraq today, is part of that, just rattling the box, getting the Sunni and the Shia to really fight each other madly, which that could spread to other countries, by the way. That could spread to, of course, like in Pakistan and India. I mean, this could spread all over the place. This won't be confined. If you get the Sunni versus Shia fighting on a large scale, these things could unfold in the United States, of course.
And let me add two data points to that. Exactly. Let me add two data points of your expertise on that. I want to bring Rex in with his questions. You had Trump 2 weeks ago saying he may send in al-Qaeda that we put in charge of Syria when Trump was not even president-elect. It was done by Biden, NATO, with Turkey and Israel. They put the head of al-Qaeda in there. They've exterminated more Christians and more Alawite Muslims than others. He said we may send in al-Qaeda into Lebanon. Israel says they're going to take all of Lebanon. They're going to take large parts of Syria and greater Israel. They've uncloaked. They admit that, mask off to stir people up. How does that tie in now that we see them activating, as you said, the al-Qaeda armies for this? And how do the Muslims not see through this when it's so transparent? I remember, we exposed on 9/11 how
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Wouldn't it be transparent given the situation, the circumstances right now? Like, wouldn't you look at it that way? I mean, so you always got to just assume how you would look at something other people are going to. Maybe not all of them, of course. They're going to have some that'll just blind rage out and go, try to do something possibly. But you got to think the majority are going to go, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right. It seems like something that they wanted to do to get this to happen. I don't know. I don't know. That's pretty iffy. That's playing with fire. I'll tell you that.
West was running Israel and the U.S., Al-Qaeda. Now it's all declassified and admitted. It's crazy how Lindsey Graham, it turned out through USA and the State Department, was their main funder along with John McCain while he claimed he was fighting him. I mean, so this is just nakedly out in the open. They're gearing up. It's already started a massive Muslim civil war that will then lay the way for a greater Israel. This is so cold-blooded and just absolutely disgusting.
Right. I mean, they're trying to foment a civil war between the Muslims in service to the Greater Israel Project, and also in service to global famines. Now, I think they're going to just genocide Lebanon just the way, the Zionists are going to genocide Lebanon just the way that they've genocided Gaza. And again, that's part of the Greater Israel Project. They're going to end up in a fight with obviously going for Egypt and Turkey as well, which is, at some point they may have bitten off. There you go. There's the patch right there, the Greater Israel. It doesn't include the whole map, by the way. If you look down there at New Somalia.
Look at Syria, Iraq, all of Jordan. Oh, wow. Cairo, part of Egypt right here. The Nile. That's the Nile right there. Oh, Lord. That's a pretty big chunk. Wow. All the way down to Rahad here. They're going to want to take that too. From the river to the sea. That's what everybody was saying right here. From this river to that sea. Cairo. Jordan. Of course, you got Lebanon, right there. Part of Cyprus, all of Cyprus. Syria. Wow, boy, that'd be nuts. But that is the idea right there.
Yeah, and that sort of thing. Near the Bab al-Mandeb, you can see that will be another part of this. They're highest, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society is moving people out of Somalia into the United States and Europe. But you can see Egypt there as part of the Greater Israel Project. This is why I wonder what their plans. They must have put a lot of consideration into Aswan Dam. Will they destroy Aswan Dam or try to collect it up? I don't know. What will the Zionists do with Aswan Dam? What will they do with Mosul Dam? I think they're going to destroy Mosul Dam, but we'll wait and see. But they could destroy Mosul Dam and then blame it on the Iranians. That would be child's play to do that as well, especially once you get a civil war going. Now, keep in mind, if you blow up Mosul Dam, there you go. There's Netanyahu holding up the map. But if you if they blow up Mosul Dam, that will do significant damage to the population of Iraq, and I just think they'll go for it. And also, keep in mind, World War One, the biggest part of World War One, the huge spark that got that going was not Prince Ferdinand or Archduke Ferdinand.
It was the Ottoman Empire.
That's right. It was that railway right through Mosul, right? It was that railway that goes right through the Berlin to Baghdad railway that would eventually go to Basra, right? And then there's oil terminals down Abat and Kayat. I've been on those oil terminals. Those are right off.
Let me raise this for people. Remember, you're very sophisticated. I'm not just sharing that's just true. And we have smart listeners. A lot of them are following you. Some aren't, because I can barely follow you, and I'm pretty well informed. So you can get down at our level here. Wars never really end. They just pause, as you know, and historically, and especially in the modern age. And so all the same things like herpes is coming back to the surface. There's a big flare up here, and all the same preparations are being made for an even bigger explosion. And so that's where we are, is at this jumping off point. And I know you're just done with Trump. You don't even care. Like he doesn't matter. Like he's a puppet, which I get. But we can put pressure on his administration. I don't think Trump has any idea that he's been set up to take the.
It's good to see this, so you know exactly what this is all about. It's all about that, man. It's all about the oil. That's what it is. I almost feel like that's mainly what the Greater Israel Project's about too, taking over all of this. You know what I mean? Because if you look, that's what they wanted, right? Was that this was all a part of it, all of that, and then back up and then over here, right here. Oh, even like I think it shot straight over. It was all Iraq, part of Iran. I wonder what Turkey will do. Will they just sit back and let that all happen? Because they're right there. I mean, once Syria's gone, then they're going to be on the border with them. Iraq is too.
All for this giant war that's already started in the history books. And the people he thought were his buddies are his absolute sworn enemies, as Tucker warned him many times. I mean, it's just, my hope is that Trump could wake the hell up that he's been set up and doesn't keep like a degenerate gambler doubling down, that somehow he can put the brakes on Israel, cut the money off, the weapons off, make a deal with Iran and pull out of this now. Because the Iranians have to know, yeah, they're winning a strategic, battle now, but if they force us into total war, Israel intends to win this in the end and intends to make it so bad we've got to send in troops and nukes. It's an insane gamble, but I think the Iranians need to come to their senses and not gamble and make some type of deal with Trump. Do you think there's any way of that happening?
No, I don't see an off ramp, Alex, because I don't see, that's not the energy in the system that we're seeing. This is, again, as you just mentioned, this is it's like a herpes outbreak. I've been calling it an inflection point, but I may start calling it a herpes outbreak, but because this is a long war, and there are outbreaks like the Great War. World War I was an outbreak. Actually, this is the same war as World War I. By the way, this is the same war as World War II. These are all the same war. It's just they have different names and that sort of thing, but this is the exact same war, and it's never ended, and it's not. There's no end in sight that I see.
There's no end in sight until we own and take over those resources. That's what it is. So there's no end in sight. Yeah, that's right. There's no end in sight until those resources are ours, and that's the real plan. This has nothing to do with Iran as a country or any of that. This has been something in the making. That general, back from a while back, who said 7 countries in 5 years or something like that was the plan when he got called into the Pentagon. They handed him a little pamphlet or something, like a folder full of stuff stating that they wanted to take 7 countries in 5 years. Now, we know it took a lot longer than 5 years, but that was the original plan. So they're just going ahead with it, and the problem is a lot of people have a short-term memory span, so much happening every day that they forget that this guy come out and said that, and he was a top general. So that's still the plan. They don't give up on a plan, just because it doesn't. Okay, so it only took 5. It's taken 20 years instead of 5. They don't care. The resources over there, you saw it with your own eyes. You saw all the oil depots and all the oil, drilling wells. I mean, that's a lot. And if they can have that and control that, they can control pretty much almost, except for whatever Russia has, pretty much the world's oil supply. Then they own, that's a monopoly on that resource. So that's what it's for. That's what it's always been for. That's what Iraq was for. And to tie up a loose end there, because a lot of people don't remember that back in the 70s, we put Saddam in office. The CIA did. He was a CIA asset back in the 70s. We put him into office. So they wanted him gone for some reason. He did something. He crossed the line somewhere behind the scenes because he was their puppet. He loved America. He loved everything to do with it. Like yeah. So Iraq, Afghanistan. At this point, I don't know what the point of Afghanistan was because we're completely out of there now. The Taliban has it all right back. Everything we did in Afghanistan, they're erased, pretty much.
As long as there's humans in that area. And it doesn't matter, by the way, as we mentioned before, it doesn't matter if you take all the people out of there that are there now and replace them with somebody else. The people that are there will end up fighting because the routes and resources there they're going to fight for those routes and resources.
Yeah.
Leon, stay there. You're totally on.
Yeah, it's the resources, like I just said. It's all those resources, the world's oil supply in the hands of these globalists. If it's in the hands of America, it'll be in their hands. We're 38 trillion in debt. So that's where that goes, whether we want to admit it or not. So, yeah, that's... oh, boy. Wow. All resources. All wars are resource wars, pretty much. I mean, the same people who funded World War I funded World War II. The same people who funded that funded the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. It was all purposely done. It was all purposely done. Resources. There's always a reasoning behind it more than what they tell you. And 9 out of 10 times, I'm willing to bet the reason they tell you is just some made-up reason. So...
But you notice when I have a guest on who's covering stuff I know the general public understands, I have a really good grasp of that. I don't interrupt them. Sometimes I'll go 10 minutes and the guest will say, "Are you there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm listening." Michael Yon has such an incredible grasp of geopolitics, history, how it's all interconnected, real war theory. I've read hundreds of books on this myself. He knows way more than I do. That I know, am not being insulting. Some of it was going over my head. I know, slow down. And then he started elaborating. World War I was just a continuation of the old empire's war. World War II was that. This is mainline history. We get to PhD level. Just like Ukraine was the Catholics split in the West and the East, the Orthodox, and that was where a lot of the main battles happened and the main gateway for Barbarossa in 42 into Russia. That's why it's so important to Russia. So it's continuation. That's why the Azov Battalion are the grandkids of the Nazis. It's why all these ministers and people are the grandkids of Nazis. They are Nazis when the Russians say that. And then you have the standing ovation a few years ago of the SS officer that on record actually did massacre.
In Canada, sorry to pause that on you guys if you were listening, but yeah, the SS officer that they brought to Canada and gave him a standing ovation. And then they had to redact it all when they found out. Well, they knew who he was. When the rest of us found out who he was, they had to redact everything and say, but they still gave him the standing ovation, gave him a Medal of Honor. So it's the same old faction, same old song and dance that's been going on for the last couple 100 years.
People, thousands at a time, throwing them in graves, Poles and Ukrainians. And they said he fought the Russians in World War II, and they all get up and clap. Now, they couldn't all be that ignorant in the Canadian Parliament that the Russians were on our side in World War II. No, they are saying we are for the Nazis. We are for that. And now you have Laura Loomer. I'm not even attacking her. It just shows, I think, her own ignorance or whatever's going on. She meets with the founder and the head of the Azov Battalion. We'll put the shot on screen and says, he's not a Nazi. Look, I'm Jewish. He didn't hurt me. Well, his leader is Jewish, Zelensky. Zelensky 4 years ago got asked, hey, you got a lot of Nazis in the Azov Battalion. He said, they're Ukrainians too. So it's not debatable. It's not like he's a dragon going to eat you because you're Jewish. the point is, he is a
Yeah. Well, we all remember the Azov battalion. They were flaunting it. They had badges on the side here. Now they took all that off. But initially, you could go back and check into it. But they all had patches right on their arm, standing for the Azov battalion. So, I mean, we all know what that meant. And here's Laura Loomer standing side by side with this guy. Wow.
not the Nazi contingent. They do blood and soil, Heil Hitler stuff. They do all the rituals, all the torch lit things at night. They admit that. They have the same insignia of the Ukrainian Nazis in World War II. That is not debated. That is a fact. And so, and I'm only showing this to show the continuation of history and how Laura Loomer is so over the top with her gaslighting, or maybe she's just this ignorant. She's over there saying, look, he's not a Nazi. He's nice. I'm Jewish. He's being friendly to me. This is next level insanity. Here's a clip of the SS officer, almost 100 years old, getting a standing ovation. Then the Russians wanted him extradited as a Nazi war criminal. They said no.
Oh, they're gonna show it. Awesome. Good. Because yeah, that's
Nazi. Simon Wiesenthal didn't hunt down real Nazis. Klaus Barbie, the Angel of Death, Dr. Mengele, they were all allowed to live in South America. We got thousands and thousands, 36,000 Nazis over here to run all of our programs. Then in World War II, Operation Paperclip. And I'm not saying it's a Nazi conspiracy. I'm saying they were brought into the globalist system because of their understanding of the Russian networks and fighting that. And then she's over there I think she's just ignorant, literally saying this guy's not a Nazi when our own State Department says they are Nazis and that's a part of their main army. Here's the clip, just for historical context, of the SS officer being given a standing ovation.
Zelensky's speech received at least a dozen standing ovations. There was also one for this man, a 98-year-old Ukrainian Canadian who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians during the Second World War.
The origin of this invite is one of the many unanswered mysteries pertaining to Nazigate. Apparently, it was the Hunka family that reached out to Mr. Rota, suggesting that it would make for a whiz-bang photo op to have Hunka Sr. lauded in the House of Commons when Zelensky dropped by for a fundraiser, a visit. Did the Hunka family not consider that in this day and age of the internet, people might do a little investigating on the Googler machine and dredge up some really embarrassing details? Not that the mainstream media could be bothered to do so last week, mind you. It was my beloved big boss man, Ezra Levant, that got the Nazigate ball rolling last weekend by simply doing some basic mathematics, which is to say, if someone is fighting against the Russians prior to May 8th, 1945, that means you were on the wrong side of history.
Yeah, that might mean you might be a Nazi.
Now, what's important is he was an SS officer who did take part in documented mass machine gunning, so throwing people into mass graves. Where Zelensky's gone and put plaques up for the dead. This is unbelievable. A true dyed-in-the-wool, thoroughbred Nazi, standing ovation because he fought the Russians in World War II. That's how stupid they think we are. Now, getting back to Michael Yonam and turn the baton over to him and Rex to get into all of this. When Joe Kent comes on, Rex, please ask him about off-ramps. He's been trying to get off-ramps. I know Jan's saying there's too much kinetic energy, like a hurricane. This is going down. I agree with that overall, but we've still got to pull out of this at some point. So we'll be looking at all of that. But getting back to this being a continuation, Lawrence of Arabia, World War I, the drawing of the maps, the creating of the modern Middle East. Israel wants to implode that, bring in a greater Israel. They want us to fight and die in it. This is an acceleration of the original world.
Well, they want us to fight and die in it, and then also they want to take our place in the world. So this is a double banger, I guess you could call it, for them, because in order for them to become the superpower, they have to get rid of us. And they have to get rid of Europe. So, yeah, that's what they're trying to do. I mean, you have a lot of Jewish NGOs funding a lot of these immigrants. I was watching a video the other day, and this guy had uncovered a ton of NGOs ran by Jewish organizations funding the European invasion. So, and they're funding of this one here too through the Democrat Party. I guarantee it. The objective: get rid of the white countries, get rid of the people they don't want in the countries that they want to occupy. It's a win-win for them. And they still hold a grudge from Rome coming in and taking over. So it all goes back to one place, guys. And where's the money? So we always have to look at where the money is. Where does the money come from? Always, always follow the money. So, yeah, that's how that works. Follow the money.
Or that we're just entering the third act of right now. Please support us at thealexjonesstore.com. A huge sale, 50% off methylene red, other great products about to end. Also, we have the new RX site, 1776rx.health, where you can get the Menbenzidol and the ivermectin combo together. Nothing like it for anti-parasiticals and so much more. Just research what been also known to do. Menbenzidol associated with in the studies, you'll be blown away what they don't want you to know. 1776rx.health, and you're funding our operation. What we're doing, this is real pharmaceutical grade from a pharmacy. There's a lot of fake stuff out there that costs even more. This is a great deal, and it funds our operation. Get yours now at 1776.
That actually might be a good thing to have.
RX.health.
With Saudi Arabia is we gave a certain Bedouin tribe, authority over the money and the country and the property and everything there. And as long as they agreed to abide by our system, everything was all good. Now we're seeing that kind of fall apart. We're seeing the enforcement of that old system fail from the West. Michael Yon, you talk about human.
Okay, you guys can go pick up the rest of this. Michael Yon are on alexjoneslive.com, or you can go over to X and watch this. You'll find it on Alex Jones's page. It's Rex Jones and Michael Yon. You can go finish their interview up. I am going to get off for the day, guys. I will be back on tomorrow. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you. You can follow me on X. My handle is KJ1116 or at KJ1116, or you can go on there and just type in sundown. I have a blue check mark. You'll see me. That's on X. You can go on to YouTube and follow me at Pulse Point, and that's at Carl's Pulse Point on YouTube. And you can also follow me here, Sundown Entertainment. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.